Welcome to my sewing room. My name is Melissa and I am so happy, I am so honored that you chose to spend a minute with me. Today we are going to be looking at some of the things I've been working on this week, but also first, before we get to that, we are going to discuss something very important. Fabric. So in the last couple of weeks I've been fighting a hopeless battle of trying to use up my scraps. And it's just futile. It's absolutely futile because as soon as I use up scraps, I make more. And then I take scraps out of the scrap bag and put scraps back into the scrap bag. And so the cycle continues. The sun rises, the sun sets. And tomorrow, if we're lucky, we get another day. I'm in a virtual online craft guild. That was redundant, wasn't it? My son would say being redundant is when you repeat yourself. Anyway, I'm in this online guild. And we did a crumb block exchange. And the crumb block is when you take your scraps, your little bits left over, and you sew them together. It didn't have to be any pattern. It didn't have to be uniform. The colors could be clashy. The idea is that you just sew up your bits together, and then we all sew up our scraps, and then we send them to a centralized point, and then we get scraps back from other people in the form of 10.5-inch blocks. So here are some of mine that I really like the way that they turned out. I like that one, and then here's another fun one. So I saved some of my favorites because I wanted to incorporate it into a quilt when we get them back. I really like how this one turned out. This is one of my favorites. Just keeping my favorites. And then this is another one. I actually got some criticism from my group because they said, Melissa, your blocks are too orderly. Well, it is in my nature to keep things square and have my points match, so it makes sense that I do that even with my crumbs. But in thinking about that and working on these crumbs, this had me remembering all of the places that I got fabric from over the years. So I've been sewing for about 28 years, and in that time I've bought fabric from a lot of places. You'll never forget your first fabric store, and mine was Ben Franklin Crafts in Menominee, Wisconsin, in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, and she went out of business within months of Walmart Supercenter moving into town. My early 20-year-old something self wanted to live in a world that could sustain both Ben Franklin Crafts and Walmart Supercenter, but when the Walmart came in, it had this enormous crafting section, and then they put Ben Franklin under, and then they shrunk their crafting section down by a fraction of what it used to be. And then I found a place called Mill End Textiles in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which was this magical warehouse full of fabric. I mean, it was ginormous, really reasonable prices because they had a lot of seconds and surplus. And then over the years, eventually around 2012, somewhere in there, Mill End went under because they could not, quote, they could not compete with Walmart and Joann. And then I discovered Fabric.com because I was in a rural place in Wisconsin, and it was nice to be able to have yardages of fabric delivered to my house. And then Fabric.com ended up getting bought out by Amazon, and as far as I'm concerned, ceases to exist. Since Amazon bought it, it's not the same. No. And then I discovered Joann. I started really shopping from Joann when I moved to New Mexico, and it was living in the middle of nowhere, and the convenience of ordering fabric online was glorious. And Our Lady Joann, our patron saint of crafting, was sacrificed to corporate restructuring and was absolutely sacrificed to the altar of corporate greed. And may we all have a moment of silence, because the crafting world is not the same. But moving forward, where do we get our fabric from? I was thinking about this, and I will admit I am part of the problem. Because I haven't been loyal to small crafting stores, small fabric stores. I am on a budget and I buy fabric where I get it reasonably priced. And thankfully right now I'm in a place in my life where I am quite abundant in fabric, and I have enough fabric to keep me out of trouble for at least the next 5 years. But moving forward, if we don't start, the collective we don't start like really being deliberate about buying fabric and buying our crafting supplies and our notions and all the things that we need from businesses that we want to support, eventually the only place where we're going to be able to buy fabric is from here and from here. Okay, my rant is over. And now let's take a look at what I'm working on. What I'm working on this week. What I'm working on this week. So I got my quilt done, and I got a quilt done the last couple weeks. I did post pictures, videos of a quilt that I am making. I will do a better full release of this, like a reveal of this, but it really needs to be washed. But I did do the binding this week, so I finished the binding front and back. The corner looks good. Anyway, I'm going to do a better reveal on this after I get it washed, and in part because I like it the way it poofs up when you wash it, and also because I live with cats and dogs, and I just cannot keep pet hair off of things, so I wash things before I give it away as a gift. I do have an entire complete how to do binding by machine tutorial on this channel. Check that out after you watch all of this, of course. UFO siding. I'm really happy with how this turned out because I like the concentric stars, and I'm going to lay out the block and how to do this. This is a very simple block, but just because something is simple doesn't mean that it is easy. I started this project over a year ago. I cut out the back, the lining, and the batting, and then it sat on my desk until I could get the quilt top done. I needed a miniature quilt top that was 32 inches by 38.5 inches. I decided to do 4-inch squares. Since 38.5 is not divisible by 4, I rounded up to 40. Adding the seam allowance, I cut 80 4.5-inch squares. And to snowball opposite corners, I cut 160 2.5-inch squares. Okay, so I'm going to start with my 4.5-inch square, and I think you can see it on the video. I have 2 lines. Let me get my tools out of here. Ta-da! I keep my stiletto, one of my most used tools, and my seam ripper in that front little container. So I have 2 lines here. This line right here on this side is in line with the needle, and this line on this side is a 1/4 inch. And so I am going to sew the square on a diagonal like this, and I'm going to do one on this side and one on this side, just opposite sides, or it could be this one and this one, it doesn't matter, just opposite sides. And so I'm going to do one, and I want to keep this scrappy, so I'm going to do, so like I'll do one just to show you what I'm doing, and we'll do one of these and one of these. It's okay if they're both blue because they're all going to be mixed up. I'm going to flip this down. Okay. Ooh, okay. Did you hear that? My machine needs oil. I'm going to oil my machine, and I'll be back. Okay. We're oiled, we're humming beautifully, and we have a new needle. So, I am just going to chain piece. I have 80 of these to do. Let me just go nice and slow. So if you can see, I have this point right here. Go up further a little bit so you can see. I have this point right here. And if I line it up on this line, then I will be bisecting that square perfectly. And then I'll just chain piece a bunch of these. Let's go this funky orange. Oh my gosh, isn't that fantastic? If this were a flying geese, I'd have to trim it first before I added the second square, but since we're doing snowballs and we're not crossing, we're going to have this. This is going to open like that. We're going to press it, trim the edges, and they need 80 of this unit. I was given a box of fabric last week, and I went through it this week, and I wanted to be, I hate to say it, but I have to be very discriminating about what I keep and what I don't, because I live in about 630 square feet, and I don't have a lot of extra room. So, but I will show you some of my favorite bits that I took out of there. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this pineapple-y, ooh, I have showing you the wrong side. Let's show you the right side. This pineapple-y, floral-y thing I really, really like. And this is a nice high-quality quilting cotton. And I'm using this as the lining for that star thing that I just showed you, this thing. I'm using that as a lining for this, and what is it going to be? I don't know. Come back next week and find out. So I'll put that there. And then there was this polka dotty blue, which I really liked. And I thought that this polka dotty blue was a really fantastic complement for this Hawaiian-y thing. And doesn't that look nice together? Okay. And then there was this fabulous zebra print, and this is actually a duck. So I thought, you know, I don't use duck very often, but when I need it, I need it. So I thought that this was fantastic, so I'm going to keep that. And then this is just a pretty floral quilting cotton. I guess I've been on a floral kick. And then here, this is an African wax block print. I was very excited to find this one. And here is a panel that was in that box as well. I'll go this way so it's not upside down. Panels can be a little tricky, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to use this for, but I'll use it for something. And I actually thought about using it as the lining, but it's too magnificent to be a lining. And then here's another panel that, like, this is a tree. And it is a very, very nice, high-quality quilting cotton. Probably the nicest fabric as far as fabric quality in the thing. So I'm definitely going to use this for something. If you want to hang out with me for about 45 minutes, you can watch the full unboxing video on this channel. The link is in the description below. My favorite thing this week is one of my most used sewing tools. It is my stiletto. I use this thing and use this thing. It is so handy for when I want to pin as I go. I've had this for a long time, and you'll see that the word clover has worn off of it completely. In fact, I had lost it, and I realized I didn't have a backup, so I bought 2 more because I wanted to have the replacement and the backup. And of course, as soon as I ordered the replacement for the one that I lost, then I found the one that I lost, and now I have 3, and I'm going to keep it that way because I don't ever want to be without one of these. So I would love to hear what your most used tools are, and if you found something that works better for pinning as you go than the stiletto, I'd love to hear about that too. Before I go any further, first things first, important things. I mean, we gotta keep the important things important things. We're gonna have a sip of coffee. And my mug this week is quite fitting. If you have joined me today, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sticking around to the end. Please like, please subscribe because it's fun and you're awesome. And I will see you next week. Light, abundance, peace, blessing, all the good things to you. Goodbye.